One thing I see in my clinic almost every single day, someone walks in, shows me their latest A1C results, and says the exact same thing. Doctor, I'm doing everything right. I'm watching my carbs, I'm taking my medications, I'm even walking after meals, but my numbers just won't budge. And here's what breaks my heart. They're not lying. They really are doing everything they've been told to do, but there's a critical piece missing that almost nobody talks about. 4 specific minerals that your body absolutely needs to properly regulate blood sugar, and chances are you're deficient in at least 2 of them right now. I'm Dr. Ben Walker, and in my nearly 2 decades of clinical practice, I've watched thousands of patients transform their blood sugar control once they understood this mineral connection. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 4 essential minerals that directly impact your A1C and blood sugar stability. And I need you to stay until the end because mineral number 4 is the one that even most doctors completely overlook, yet it might be the most important one for people over 60. Before we dive in, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. I love seeing how far this information reaches, and it helps build our community of people taking control of their health together. Now let's talk about why this mineral issue has become such a massive problem, especially if you're dealing with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. Your body is constantly performing millions of chemical reactions every single second. Blood sugar regulation alone involves hundreds of these reactions. And here's what most people don't realize. Every single one of these reactions requires specific minerals to function. Think of minerals like the keys that start your car's engine. You can have a full tank of gas, perfect oil, brand new tires, but without that key, nothing happens. Your body's the same way. You can eat perfectly, exercise daily, take your medications. But without these 4 essential minerals in the right amounts, your blood sugar regulation system is trying to start without the key. In my nearly 2 decades of practice, I've learned something that shocked me when I first discovered it. The standard American diet, even when you're trying to eat healthy, has become incredibly mineral depleted. The soil our food grows in has far fewer minerals than it did 50 years ago. The processing methods strip out even more. And if you're over 55, your body's ability to absorb minerals from food decreases naturally with age. So you're facing a perfect storm. Less minerals in your food, and your body getting less efficient at absorbing what little is there. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. You wake up, and even though you slept okay, you feel exhausted. You have your usual breakfast, carefully portioned, watching your carbs. 2 hours later, you're shaky, irritable, craving something sweet. By mid-afternoon, you're fighting brain fog so thick you can barely concentrate. You check your blood sugar and it's all over the place. Up, down, up again. It's like being on a roller coaster you never bought a ticket for. And this isn't just uncomfortable. This daily blood sugar chaos is slowly damaging your blood vessels, your nerves, your kidneys, your eyes. Every spike, every crash, it's adding to the problem. Here's the hard truth that I need you to understand. Most of the advice you've been given focuses only on what you're eating and how much you're moving. And yes, those things matter enormously, but if your cells don't have the specific minerals they need to process glucose efficiently, you're fighting an uphill battle with one hand tied behind your back. Let me tell you what I see patients doing wrong every single week. They go buy a generic multivitamin from the drugstore, take it with breakfast, and think they've solved the mineral problem. But here's what nobody's telling you. Most multivitamins contain minerals in forms your body can barely absorb. It's like giving someone a locked safe full of money, but no combination. The minerals are technically there, but your cells can't access them. I've had patients spend hundreds of dollars on supplements that were literally just passing through their system unused. And it's not their fault. The supplement industry isn't regulated the way medications are, and most people have no idea what to look for. Another mistake I see constantly. People hear that a certain mineral is important, so they start taking massive doses. More must be better, right? Wrong. Minerals work together in very specific ratios. When you flood your system with too much of one mineral, you can actually create deficiencies in others. I had a patient who started taking huge amounts of zinc because he read it was good for immunity. 6 months later, he was severely copper deficient, which was making his blood sugar worse, not better. Now let's get into the 4 minerals you actually need, in the right forms, at the right amounts. I'm going to explain exactly how each one works, what the research shows, and most importantly, how to use this information practically starting today. Mineral number 1 is magnesium. And I know what you're thinking because every patient says the same thing. Yeah, I've heard about magnesium before. But stay with me, because what I'm about to explain about magnesium and blood sugar is something most people completely misunderstand. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body. But here's what matters for blood sugar. Magnesium is absolutely essential for your cells to respond to insulin. Think of insulin like a key trying to unlock your cell doors so glucose can enter. Magnesium is what keeps those locks working smoothly. Without enough magnesium, your cells become resistant to insulin even when your pancreas is producing plenty of it. A study published in the journal Diabetes Care in 2020 2023 followed over 4,000 adults with prediabetes for 3 years. Those who maintained optimal magnesium levels had a 37% lower risk of progressing to full type 2 diabetes compared to those who were magnesium deficient. 37%. That's not a small number. Here's what I want you to understand about magnesium deficiency. The standard blood test your doctor orders doesn't tell you the full story. Only about 1% of your body's magnesium is in your blood. The rest is in your bones, muscles, and inside your cells. You can have a normal blood magnesium level and still be severely deficient where it actually matters. Over the past 18 years working with patients, I've learned to look at symptoms instead of just relying on that basic blood test. Muscle cramps, especially at night, difficulty sleeping, anxiety or racing thoughts, irregular heartbeat. These are often signs your magnesium is low. Now here's the practical part. Not all magnesium supplements are created equal. I see patients taking magnesium oxide because it's cheap and available everywhere, but your body absorbs maybe 4% of magnesium oxide. You're literally flushing 96 cents of every dollar you spend down the toilet. The forms that actually work are magnesium glycinate, magnesium threonate, or magnesium malate. These forms have absorption rates of 60 to 70%. That's a massive difference. For blood sugar support specifically, I typically recommend 300 to 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium daily, split into 2 doses. Take half with breakfast, half with dinner. Always take it with food to improve absorption and reduce the chance of digestive upset. And here's the pro tip most people miss. Don't take magnesium at the same time as calcium supplements or high calcium foods. They compete for absorption. Space them at least 2 hours apart. Let me tell you about Dorothy. She was 68 when she came to see me about 4 years ago. Her A1C was 7.2, right on the edge of needing to start insulin. She was already on 2 oral medications, eating a careful diet, walking every morning. But her fasting blood sugar was still running between 130 and 160. She was frustrated and scared. "I don't want to go on insulin, Dr. Walker," she told me. My mother was on insulin and I watched what it did to her. We ran some tests, including a magnesium RBC test that looks at cellular levels, not just blood levels. She was significantly deficient. We started her on 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate daily, split into 2 doses. Within 6 weeks, her fasting blood sugar dropped to under 110 consistently. 3 months later, her A1C was 6.4. At her 6-month follow-up, it was 6.1. "I have energy again," she told me at that appointment, "and I'm not constantly thinking about food. It's like something just clicked into place." Mineral number 2 is chromium. Now, this is where things get really interesting from a cellular biology standpoint. Chromium enhances the action of insulin at the cellular level. It helps insulin bind more effectively to cell receptors, making your cells more sensitive to the insulin your body produces. Research published in Diabetes Technology and Therapeutics in 2024 showed that chromium supplementation in people with type 2 diabetes improved insulin sensitivity by an average of 26% over 12 weeks. But here's what you need to know about chromium. The typical American diet provides maybe 25 to 30 micrograms of chromium per day, and as you age, your body stores less chromium and excretes more. By the time you're 65, you might be storing half the chromium you had at 35. The sweet spot for blood sugar support appears to be between 200 and 400 micrograms daily. Some studies have used up to 1,000 micrograms safely, but I typically start patients at 200 to 400 and only go higher if needed. The form matters enormously with chromium. Chromium picolinate is the most studied form and has the best absorption. There's also chromium polynicotinate, which some people tolerate better if they have digestive sensitivity. Avoid chromium chloride. The absorption is poor and it can cause stomach upset. Here's the critical timing detail that most people get wrong. Chromium works best when taken 30 minutes before your largest meal of the day. For most people, that's dinner. This timing allows the chromium to be present in your system right when you need it most, when you're processing the biggest glucose load of the day. The pro tip here: if you're taking chromium and you notice your blood sugar dropping lower than usual, that's actually your body responding well. You might need to work with your doctor to adjust your medication doses. I've had many patients reduce their diabetes medications after adding chromium because their insulin sensitivity improved so much. Never adjust medications on your own, but definitely track your numbers and have that conversation with your doctor. I worked with a patient named Marcus who was 72. He'd been diabetic for 11 years, on 3 different medications, and his A1C was still hovering around 8.1. His biggest problem was his post-dinner blood sugar spikes. Even with medication, he'd shoot up to 240, 260 after dinner. It was affecting his sleep, his energy, everything. We added 400 micrograms of chromium picolinate, taken 30 minutes before dinner. Within 2 weeks, his post-dinner spikes dropped to the 160s. A month later, he was consistently staying under 140. "I can actually sleep through the night now," he said. "I'm not up 3 times using the bathroom." His A1C 3 months later was 7.3, the best it had been in years. Now let's talk about mineral number 3, and this one surprises most people: zinc. Everyone knows zinc is important for immune function, especially after the past few years. But what most people don't realize is that zinc plays a crucial role in insulin production and storage. Your pancreas uses zinc to create insulin and store it properly. Without adequate zinc, your pancreas literally cannot produce insulin efficiently. A study from the Journal of Trace Elements in Medicine and Biology in 2023 found that people with type 2 diabetes had significantly lower zinc levels than non-diabetics, and those with the lowest zinc levels had the highest A1C values. Here's what's fascinating about zinc and blood sugar. Zinc also helps protect your pancreatic beta cells, the specific cells that produce insulin, from oxidative damage. Over the years, high blood sugar creates inflammation and oxidative stress that slowly kills these beta cells. It's one reason type 2 diabetes tends to progress over time. You start out just resistant to insulin, but eventually you're not producing enough either, because those cells have been damaged. Adequate zinc helps protect against this progression. The challenge with zinc is the same as with other minerals. The standard American diet is increasingly zinc deficient. Processed foods contain almost no zinc, and even if you're eating zinc-rich foods like oysters, beef, or pumpkin seeds, your ability to absorb zinc decreases with age. In my nearly 2 decades of practice, I've learned that most people over 60 need supplementation to maintain optimal levels. For blood sugar support, I typically recommend 15 to 30 milligrams of zinc daily. The upper safe limit is 40 milligrams, but I rarely go that high except in cases of severe deficiency. The best forms are zinc picolinate, zinc citrate, or zinc bisglycinate. These chelated forms have much better absorption than zinc oxide or zinc sulfate. Here's the critical rule with zinc. Always take it with food. Zinc on an empty stomach makes most people nauseous. It's one of the most common reasons people stop taking zinc supplements. Take it with a meal, preferably one that contains some protein and fat, which help with absorption. And here's what most people miss. High doses of zinc can interfere with copper absorption over time. If you're taking zinc supplements regularly, you should also be getting some copper, either from food or from a low-dose supplement. The ideal ratio is about 15 to 1, zinc to copper. So if you're taking 30 milligrams of zinc, you want about 2 milligrams of copper. Let me tell you about Patricia. She came to see me when she was 65, about 3 years ago. Her A1C had been creeping up year after year. She'd started at 6.2 about 5 years before I met her, then 6.6, then 6.9. When I saw her, she was at 7.4 and panicking. "I don't understand," she said. "I eat the same way I always have. I walk every day. Why is this getting worse?" We ran a comprehensive nutrient panel, something I wish more doctors would do routinely. Her zinc was barely detectable. We started her on 25 milligrams of zinc picolinate with dinner, plus 2 milligrams of copper to maintain balance. 8 weeks later, her fasting blood sugar had dropped from 145 to 115. 4 months in, her A1C was 6.7. "I feel like myself again," she told me. "That constant fatigue I thought was just getting older, it's gone." Now we get to mineral number 4, and this is the one that even most doctors completely overlook. Vanadium. If you've never heard of vanadium, you're not alone. Most people haven't. But the research on vanadium and blood sugar control is absolutely fascinating, especially for people dealing with insulin resistance. Vanadium acts as an insulin mimetic, which means it can actually mimic some of insulin's actions in your cells, even without insulin being present. Studies published in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition showed that vanadium supplementation improved insulin sensitivity by up to 32% in people with type 2 diabetes. Here's how vanadium works at the cellular level. It activates the same cellular pathways that insulin uses to move glucose into cells. It's like having a master key that can unlock the same doors insulin unlocks. This is particularly important for people who've developed significant insulin resistance, where their cells aren't responding well to insulin anymore. Vanadium can help bypass some of that resistance. Now, I need to be very clear about vanadium supplementation. This is not something you should just start on your own, especially if you're on diabetes medications. Vanadium can lower blood sugar significantly, and combining it with medications without medical supervision can cause dangerous hypoglycemia. Always work with a healthcare provider who understands how to use vanadium safely. The typical dose studied in research ranges from 25 to 100 milligrams of vanadyl sulfate daily. I usually start patients at the lower end and monitor carefully. The form that's been most studied is vanadyl sulfate, though there are other forms available. And here's something important. Vanadium can cause some digestive upset when you first start taking it. Starting low and building up slowly, always taking it with food, helps minimize this. The pro tip with vanadium? It works even better when combined with the other 3 minerals we've discussed. Magnesium, chromium, zinc, and vanadium together create a synergistic effect. Each one enhances what the others are doing. It's like having 4 musicians playing together instead of separately. The music is better when they're coordinated. Over the past 18 years working with patients, I've seen some remarkable results when people address all 4 of these mineral deficiencies together. I had a 70-year-old patient named Gerald who'd been diabetic for 15 years. His A1C was 8.6 despite being on maximum doses of 3 different medications. He was at the point where his endocrinologist was recommending insulin. We ran detailed nutrient testing and found he was deficient in all 4 of these minerals, all 4. We created a careful supplementation protocol adjusted over several weeks. Within 3 months, his A1C dropped to 7.2. 6 months in, it was 6.8. His doctor was able to reduce one of his medications. I never thought I'd be going down on medications, he told me. I thought this was just a one-way street to more and more drugs. Now, before you run out and buy all 4 of these minerals, there are some critical rules you need to understand. Rule number 1, more is not better. These minerals work in specific ranges. Too much can be just as problematic as too little. Excessive magnesium causes diarrhea. Too much zinc interferes with copper and can weaken your immune system. Too much chromium or vanadium without medical supervision can cause dangerous drops in blood sugar. Stick to the ranges I've outlined. Rule number 2, timing matters. Magnesium is best split into morning and evening doses. Chromium works best before your largest meal. Zinc should always be with food. Vanadium should be with food as well. Don't just dump all your supplements down at once with breakfast and hope for the best. Strategic timing enhances absorption and effectiveness. Rule number 3, quality is everything. The supplement industry is poorly regulated. You can buy a bottle of magnesium from a gas station for $3 and it might contain almost no actual absorbable magnesium. Look for third-party tested supplements. USP verified, NSF certified, or consumer lab tested are good markers. Yes, quality supplements cost more, but you're actually absorbing what you're paying for. Rule number 4, this is not a replacement for your medications. I cannot emphasize this enough. These minerals support your blood sugar regulation system. They can dramatically improve your results. Many of my patients have been able to reduce medications under medical supervision because their blood sugar control improved so much. But you never ever stop or reduce medication on your own. You work with your doctor, you track your numbers carefully, and you make changes together when the data shows it's safe. Rule number 5, give it time. You didn't develop insulin resistance overnight. You're not going to reverse it overnight. Most of my patients start seeing improvements in 2 to 4 weeks, but the full benefits often take 2 to 3 months as your body's mineral stores replenish. Don't give up after a week because you're not seeing dramatic changes yet. This is about creating sustainable, long-term improvement. Here's what a typical day might look like incorporating these minerals. You wake up, have a glass of water, maybe some light stretching. With breakfast, which might be eggs with vegetables and a slice of whole grain toast, you take 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate and 15 milligrams of zinc picolinate. Mid-morning, you go for a walk, stay hydrated. Lunch is a big salad with grilled chicken, olive oil dressing. Around 5:30, before you start preparing dinner, you take 200 micrograms of chromium picolinate. Then you have dinner, maybe grilled salmon with roasted vegetables and a small sweet potato. With dinner, you take another 200 milligrams of magnesium plus 10 more milligrams of zinc. If you're working with vanadium under medical supervision, you'd likely take it with dinner as well. It's simple, it's systematic, and it works with your natural eating rhythm. Let's recap what we've covered today, because this is important information, and I want to make sure it sticks. You need 4 essential minerals for optimal blood sugar control. Magnesium, which helps your cells respond to insulin. 3 to 400 milligrams daily in absorbable forms like glycinate. Chromium, which enhances insulin sensitivity. 2 to 400 micrograms daily, preferably before your largest meal. Zinc, which supports insulin production and protects your pancreatic cells, 15 to 30 milligrams daily with food, and vanadium, which can actually mimic insulin's actions in your cells, 25 to 100 milligrams under medical supervision. These minerals work together. They're not competing solutions, they're complementary pieces of a puzzle. When you address all 4, you're giving your body the tools it needs to regulate blood sugar the way it's designed to. Now here's what I need from you. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, and I'm so glad you did, type "I watched till the end" in the comments below. I read every single comment, and it helps me understand what information is resonating with you. Also, tell me which of these 4 minerals you're already taking, if any. Are you completely new to this mineral approach, or have you tried some of these before? I want to hear your experience. If this information was helpful, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps YouTube share this video with more people who are struggling with blood sugar issues and desperately need this information. Every like helps someone else find answers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button now. I put out videos every week on exactly this type of practical, evidence-based health information that you can actually use. Information that makes a real difference in how you feel day to day. Before you go, I want you to watch my next video on the 7 foods that can spike your blood sugar even when you think they're healthy. It's going to surprise you because several of these foods are things people eat specifically because they're trying to manage their diabetes. You need to know what they are. Here's what I want you to remember. You are not powerless against high blood sugar. You're not destined to just watch your A1C creep up year after year while you add more medications. Your body is incredibly intelligent and resilient. When you give it the specific minerals it needs, in the right forms at the right times, it can heal and rebalance. I've watched it happen thousands of times over nearly 2 decades of practice. You can do this. This is Dr. Ben Walker, and I'll see you in the next video.